Welcome back, everybody. It's the Reinforcing Conversations podcast with Nicole and Christina, and we're shaping better behavior one talk at a time. This episode is made possible through our title sponsor, the New England Center for Children. The New England Center for Children, for over 50 years, is the worldwide leader in autism education and research. Through our schools, clinics, consulting services, and the ACE ABA software system, we're shaping a more inclusive future for all. All right. Well, happy first day of spring, Nicole.
Hi. I know it's actually warm today. So for everybody listening, I'm in New Jersey. Christina's in Connecticut. And I think it's like 60 degrees today. But like, fingers crossed.
I know the
How's it up there?
The daffodils are starting to kind of sprout a little bit, and like the little purple one. I'm showing my daughter, like, look at Snowy, spring's coming. And I was
Aw,
so excited too because it's been like 30 degrees the last few days. But today,
I
definitely
know.
when I walked out, I was like, oh, it's going to be a nice one. It's perfect for spring.
Yes, I have to be honest. I have not left my house yet today, but it does look beautiful out. And I'm really excited because the weekend's supposed to be beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Here's to better weather. And hopefully it stays this way because March is always a little crazy.
Yeah. But also it's spring, so like new beginnings, right?
I know. So great. When you were doing I was thinking about spring and when you were doing the neck chip, I was thinking about how I ended up working at New England Center for Children kind of on accident. And before that, I had wanted to be a doctor and like had spent my entire life wanting to be a doctor or a teacher, to be fair. So like BCBA, maybe not that. And I have a teaching degree,
Yeah.
but I knew I wanted to work with children most of my life. And I don't know, is that how you like, did you know?
No, when I was growing up, I didn't even want to work with kids. I didn't even want to have kids. Like, no,
Okay.
not for me. And then as I got
Yeah.
older, I was like, wait a minute. And then I fell into ABA by accident. When I was growing up, I thought I wanted to be a vet.
Ooh, okay, so you still wanted to, like, help. You were still wanted to be a help like, we learn community helpers, you still wanted to be a
I know.
helper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
I wanted to be a doctor. So,
Yes, I really wanted to but I think what we've learned is, like, I wanted to be a doctor because I'm, like, maybe a hypochondriac, and so I think my parents confused that with an interest in medicine versus, like, I had to know what every symptom of everything I was experiencing was.
yeah.
But yeah, and so I ended up here I am in ABA, and it's not exactly, I guess, like what I thought of because I didn't know ABA existed
I
when I
know,
was a
me
kid.
neither. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It's always like that falls in it by accident. But also, too, not only do you fall in it an accident, you fall in love with it, but then we get to expand outside of just the typical model that we kind of get introduced to.
Yes, which I think is why I'm so excited for our guest today, Demi, who I have known, gosh, I've probably known Demi at least 10 years in so many different capacities. And I'm just so excited she's joining us and her background. She's a BCBA, but she was in musical theater. And I just think her story of how she ended up in ABA, like it's different than mine, it's different than yours. And I think it really highlights that this field is open at any state, like age and stage of our careers. So maybe you ready for me to bring Demi in?
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to her.
Yes. Yay. She's just the best. All right, here's Demi. Hi.
Hey
Hey.
girls, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing really well. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited to see you. It's been too long. So
I
Demi
know,
and I used to
right?
see each other like every week at least.
We were seeing, at least talking. Yeah.
Yes. And it's been a while. And then we emailed about, I think, tax stuff. And we went back and forth. And I was like, you should join us because her story's so good.
Well, I
So,
cannot wait for you to share your story with our audience. So
Awesome.
let us know, how did you get into this space and how did you pivot outside of autism? Well, the typical medical model.
Sure. So yeah, my name's Demi Fragale. I'm a BCBA here in New York. I work out of a company in New York City, but I live upstate, actually. I don't live in the city anymore. I used to live in the city. And when I first moved to New York City, I moved there, you know, XYZ number of years ago to,
me
to
too.
to be a theater actor. So I was a singer. I am a singer. I'm an actor. Not the best dancer, but singing and acting for sure. And that's what I did in my undergrad. I went to college for musical theater and moved here in 2008 and pursued that career for 10 years. And toward the end of that time, I started working as a nanny among a few other like side jobs for a family who had kids with needs. And they had wonderful parents who were super, super involved in all of their services. And I was the more intertwined I got with that work and the less I did other things. I think I was waiting tables too, and also like doing shows and gigging all over the place. The more time I spent with them, the more I was sort of choosing to spend time with them over all the other stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of zeroed in on that and it felt right. And I didn't have, the words for it. And I didn't know what that meant like for a career necessarily at the time. But I knew that's where I wanted to be. So I stopped doing everything else and worked for them full time. And part of that was participating in their various therapies and including ABA. They got ABA services from another wonderful company in the city. And eventually I said to them, I said, how do I do what you're doing? And they said the word RBT to me. And I went home and, researched, and I took the test and I became an RBT. And then they really motivated me to go back to school, which felt crazy. So I went back to school for my master's in ABA after 15, 16 years of not being in school. And here we go. And I became certified 2 years ago.
Oh my God, I can't believe it's been 2 years. It
I
feels
know.
like forever and nothing. Like, I can't believe it's been 2 years since that point in our relationship, I guess.
A lot has happened in that time. I've been No, it's been a whirlwind, but I've been super lucky. I've had so much has happened in that time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know that the family had emailed me to ask how you get more involved in ABA?
I do remember. Yeah, I thought
Yes,
about that. I remembered that too because
Yeah.
I think I was looking for an email from you or something.
Yeah.
It was the taxes stuff. I was trying to find that email to like print
Yeah.
from tax form that you sent me, and I saw that initial like connection email. Yeah.
See, I can't find it. That's so funny. I was just trying to find it and I was like, I don't know what email box it's in. I don't know how long ago it was.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, but I remember I know this family as well, and they had reached out and said, "Hey, Demi is really interested in ABA. Where does she start? ABA. Where does she start?" And so then Demi and I we'd known each other from overlapping with the family, but then we went back and forth, and then that was kind of it for that period.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if you knew. I didn't know if I guess I don't know. Remember if we spoke directly or
I
if
don't think we ever
it all went
did.
through mom.
And I think that was like I think I really enjoyed sitting in on the sessions, the ABA sessions. So I think I told this parent that. So they probably reached out to you about that, but I didn't get I think probably another couple of years passed before I actually started taking the RBT course. But actually within that time, I left this out. I was working alongside probably maybe I don't know if it was you directly but probably like some of your therapists where you were working at the time. And then also like at the newer company where I ended up really getting into the field with those therapists. I was creating like lots of like all the materials. Like I was doing
You did all the materials. Oh my
I was doing all
God.
the
You are like a
laminating.
material queen.
I was
You're
doing
so good at it.
the Velcroing and the laminating,
Yeah.
which was honestly a very realistic intro to the field, the non-glamorous, all the side work. If we're gonna
Yes.
talk like restaurant terms, yeah.
So Debbie, I have a question, right? Because you got introduced as the nanny. So you were in the home with the families and then you saw the oversight of the therapy sessions. And then did you carry over some of the strategies or like
Yes.
now that you're a BCBA and you're reflecting back then of the services that your kid received, like, because you know how like follow through is kind of hard to generalize in the home. So it's like, oh, we come in, but then like there's no generalization. Like, what's
Yeah.
your take with that part of like, the nanny being involved in the sessions and the carryover at home?
Think as much, I think we can probably all agree that as much carryover as possible is always ideal. Specifically with this family, they introed a AAC device for one of their children, and that, of course, is it takes a lot of different cooks to kind of make that work. I feel like of course, we have speech and AAC experts and all these things, and it's a lot of trial and error. So that it was very beneficial to be able to come home and even teach the parents, like if they weren't there in the session or didn't quite know, I can show like, oh, here's what we're working on now with the AAC. Like, here's what they can communicate, like, here's the progress we're making there. And then so it made, home experiences so much smoother communication wise.
Yeah, I remember I worked with a learner for like 5 years, and I was able to sit in on all her sessions because 'cause we're generalizing, right, and helping her with the support that's needed,
Mhm.
like, the different strategies that we use for her sessions, so it was always cool to kind of, like, be able to sit in on other providers' sessions.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
I was able to generalize stuff from OT, PT. I don't know if you sit on a session with a PT, like you better wear your like leggings. Like
Yes.
you're also working out. Nobody gets to sit.
Yes.
So I was very like immersed in the world of autism treatment, developmental delays, all of these things, like pretty like really thrown in there.
But I also feel like in, like, a very holistic way because I feel like you didn't have necessarily the pressure of, like, "Okay, I'm going in and I'm an RBT and I'm collecting data on these 15 things." It almost was like you got an opportunity to ease your way in.
Yeah.
I
Go on.
wonder if I was gonna say, I wonder if that is, like, a more sustainable I just feel I see so much, like, burnout and so much stress in the field, and I feel like I ease my way in a different setting, but in a similar way, and I feel like I'm more my training was more comprehensive because it wasn't as, like, pressure.
Yeah. I'd say like the thing people always like to say about ABA is that it's, super rigid and there's no wiggle room and for creativity and it's this way
Yeah.
or the highway kind of thing. But I simply can't look at it that way because it's just not at all how I got into it. I was a total blank slate, but it was super, I guess, I don't know if this is the right way to put it, like person first, I guess, and not the science first. Like I had never
Mhm.
read a research article in my life, but I was doing ABA and we all are all the time. But um I now definitely approach my cases and anytime I consult with kind of the idea that like these are we're all people. This is a
Mhm.
a little child, a little person in front of me or an adult or whoever it is. But, it's not just about getting, a bunch of plus signs or, a bunch of dots on a chart or whatever it is, you do really have to look at the whole person, and data is important, of course, because it guides us in decision making, but it's not the only thing. More than what you wrote down, like, that actually happened exactly is, or like a correct response versus an incorrect response isn't the only way to understand, like, a person.
Mhm. Yeah,
I feel like
absolutely.
you've left me speechless. I don't know, it's just so well said. I'm like, "Oh, I just feel
God,
very, like, also proud of you." I don't know. Having a lot
I
of
know, right?
pride and
Because
just, like, very impressed because also so, like,
aw.
I was Demi took practicum when I was teaching practicum, and we've shared cases, and so I just, it's just been so cool to watch like, you always had, like, a good head on your shoulders and always your heart is always in it, and you're, like, such a quick learn, like, you just pick things up very quickly and easily, but it's just been an amazing to just watch you grow and all the skills you gain, and then for you to kinda, like, reflect that philosophy back because also that's, like, I feel like what I strive for too, and I think a lot of the spaces that I know you've been in strive for, so the fact that that's
Yeah, I have been so lucky. I will tell you, you hear, unfortunately, like horror stories, especially, I feel like mostly from RBTs, but BCBAs too, of course, with burnout. And I haven't felt that. I've been so lucky. Everybody that has helped shape, I mean, and continues to, I'm still very new, but everyone who I've had the pleasure of working with has taught me so much. Of course, you included. I've been so lucky to be shaped up by who I consider to be the best. So,
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
Aw.
that's so important, right? To have that leadership and that mentorship in our space. Like,
Mhm.
that is a huge wow moment. Like, "You haven't been burned out yet as a BCBA?" I am so excited and like, "Hello, it's possible, guys." Right?
Yeah.
Having is and it all does come down to boundaries too, right, Debbie? So,
Yes.
like, maybe we should talk about how do you guys place boundaries or, with Nicole knowing you guys for so long, and the same thing, like, how you say you started off as a nanny and then you're like, "Ooh, what is this?" And then you went ahead and became a BCBA, right? Like, I guess, like, for some people, like, that you wanna continue on when you figure it out, like, "Wow, how do I progress in this field?" Right? It's like, become a BCBA, because not everyone wants to pursue the BCBA route, right? So for Nicole, like what were some qualities that you saw in Demi early on that was like, "Oh my gosh, of course she became a BCBA."
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, you are detail oriented. I'm like, what are all the great things about Demi? I could go on and on and on. She's very detail oriented. I feel like you also your heart. I don't know. I just think you just have a good heart. And the kids that we shared, you worked with, and just like cared about so much and cared about their success so much, and wanted to understand to help them, not just to like and maybe, I think that's just who you are, and I think that, being the nanny instead of an RBT or something, you don't have to be connected to, like, the data or productivity or session notes or any of those things, but I just think that you and your I think the musical theater piece, like, the creativity shows up, and I think that you get to have the variability, like, your clients change over time, everything's not always the same. I feel like there are some of those overlaps, like, it's creative in a different way.
Yeah, creativity is important.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. Uh, I would say that the theater background, like, it's not like I don't show up as like a one woman show,
Right.
for people because because frankly, for the most part, like the kids I work with simply would kick me out. They wouldn't love that. In fact, I'm told to stop singing a lot.
Really? Like, by kids? "Hey, you wanna know
Yeah,
what? It's a teachable moment, though. Like,
yeah,
hey,
yeah,
you can use your words. You could tell me."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm asked to quiet down quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. I've learned to really slow down. I don't know if it's
Okay.
apparent right now because I'm I'm probably talking a mile a minute right now. Yeah, I would say though for the most part, like what think I bring from the theater of it all, is timing
Hmm.
That's a good one.
That's a really good answer.
and like how to read a room or like how to read like a situation,
Mhm.
which has served me, I'd say, with the case like the actual clients and but for the most part with their families and caregivers and like building rapport there. I feel like that's like 70% of this work is
Yes.
connection with other people and and building trust and rapport, of course. It's not that I hide like the playful creative side of me. I just think that practice being super authentic in like contrived situations has helped me like just be more authentic as a human being in general.
Hmm.
And and not having to, live up to like or not have to think about, I'm a perfectionist in many ways and I had to learn that, I wasn't going to ever be perfect at this at the start, this you're not born coming out like with singing, like I could sing since I could talk. This is not that. So this has been humbling for sure,
Hmm.
but but the theater part definitely gave me comfort with like improvisation, I guess, and timing. And that's helped me. That's had a lot of utility in my work in clinical work.
Yeah, and so many learners, right? Like, I leverage singing all the time to
Yeah.
teach and motivate our friends. Like, that's the best way to build rapport.
Yeah.
Especially, like, I have my little scripts. Like, if someone says the word forever, I don't know if you guys saw the movie The Sandlot, but when they're in the treehouse,
Yeah. Forever.
forever,
Yeah.
like, what? It's just, like, automatic for me. But, like, leveraging, music and singing for teaching moments too is so monumental. I had a learner that also had Williams syndrome. So, like, they were so musically inclined too, so we were
Hmm.
able to leverage music to teach so many important skills for her, and it was like it's just a joy to be able to incorporate that.
Yeah.
Like, with your background, like, what are some tips or strategies that you would give that you've noticed that were impactful for learners of incorporating, like, simple music or even background music or anything like that?
I was gonna say background music, I feel like I've used the most, and that's not I mean, it's not like there's any formal programming around that, but, just from, like, a sensory perspective, a lot of just background music you'd think it would be distracting for some, but really it helps a lot of kids focus. It can
Hmm.
help me really focus.
Me too.
The younger ones, the little ones that we work with for sure love to hear singing, and, like, I work with a little 2-year-old who simply won't look at me unless I'm singing. So that's fun and kind of exhausting, but fun. Um, hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of kids enjoy like a sing-songy voice to a certain point.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
music there's I mean music is what do they say? Like the way
The
everybody
universal yeah.
universal
Language, right?
Language?
language. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I,
So yeah.
I feel like our shared clients both had a love of music.
Yes.
And then I have a client that I still see that I can't sing because I can't sing on key. So as soon as I start singing, he's like, "Stop. I need you to stop." Like, he's like, "Don't sing, don't sing." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, okay," because I can't. He has like perfect pitch
That's so
and
cool.
does not want to hear me make any kind of musical noises.
Mhm.
But we're actually using we're trying to use his AAC device to help him use Alexa to request specific songs because he'll say like play Anna and he means something from Frozen
Yeah.
and he won't be able to say the whole thing. And so like I know what song from Frozen he likes. So we've now programmed it into the AAC to be able to like, cause it's so motivating.
Song
I feel like
itself or whatever, yeah.
yeah.
That's so
So
cool.
that then the device plays the correct thing and he's getting the model of the correct thing. And like he's not getting frustrated when like novel adults don't know what he means.
Mhm. I think that's such a special skill to teach too, because like, we said, like, it's cheesy, music is the universal language,
Yeah.
but, it is, it's a big issue a lot of the times with the population we work with is they have a really hard time connecting with other people. Um, Whether it's like a social thing or just they simply can't produce they're not talking or, whatever it may be. So you can have a typical kid and you can have a kid who's been diagnosed with whatever, and they both are obsessed with Anna, and you
Mhm.
wanna build a snowman, and they can listen to that together or sing it together or, you know, just a way to connect and, that
Yeah.
sibling or that peer can see like, "Oh, that we're the same. We have a shared interest." So, it can open doors.
Yeah. It
Okay,
really does.
I have a question. So we started doing like these little would you rather parts of our podcast, right? So
Okay.
would you rather um have your clients learn through music and art, or would you rather have them learn through discrete trial training?
Like, you can only do one or the other?
One or the other? I can't
Is
give
that what
like
you're saying?
Yeah,
like
would you rather teaching through music and arts or more DTT?
a combination of both? Can I
Yeah,
say
right.
that? Like I said, like I'm not someone who's like singing through my sessions. So, I think there's a time and a place for DTT, and a time and a place for keeping things incidental and natural. But I'd say like either way, my background kind of shows up.
Yeah.
Like my
Mhm.
background, like whether it's DTT or not, I feel like it just helps me stay super present and like read engagement and
Mhm.
notice. I'm not talking about I think I'm talking about more like theater or the arts in general than just music, but just a way to notice. I think it's given me the skills to notice more than just a correct or incorrect response. So, which is like, with DTT, it's like, did it happen or did it not, and move on. But yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah,
I
no, you
mean,
guys,
it's fine. We're not gonna there's no, like, right or wrong answer here. We're not, like, "Oh, you
I'd
didn't
say
pick a
it
perfect
depends on
answer.
who and
Goodbye."
what and where and why.
Yeah. But so I don't know, that just makes me wonder also, like, I don't know, I'm just thinking because I find that people who have non-traditional paths to ABA tend to
Uh-huh.
be I don't wanna, like I don't want maybe this is a hot take, but like I tend to find that people who have non-traditional paths tend to be a more well-rounded BCBA. I myself, because I'm a special education teacher and have always worked in multidisciplinary settings, I feel like my skill set is different than somebody who went and got a master's in ABA and has only worked at ABA agencies. And I see your skill set is different. And now, like, I mean, how many semesters of practicum have I taught? I feel like I see the students who I had somebody who came from a dance background a few years ago, somebody like I've had people change careers. Like, I feel like those people there's an element from I've known people from marketing to their career that creates a different level for BCBAs when they become a BCBA. But what do you think it is? Like, is there something in theater that you're like, man, I wish everybody in ABA learned either this skill or this thing or the way that theater teaches something? Like, what skill am I missing? No, not specifically me, but like,
No, listen, I think we
yeah.
all come in with our own data from our past or whatever it is. We all come in with our own way we like to do things, whether it
Hmm.
was, the way a teacher would or the way that an actor would or the way someone in academia would. But being fully present, I'd say. Being fully present, I feel like this sounds so cheesy. If any actors are going to listen to this, they're going to be like, "Oh my god," they're going to roll their eyes at me. But maybe there won't. Well, maybe there's an actor listening to this who's going to change careers to become a
Yeah, they're
BCBA.
gonna be inspired. You don't
um,
know.
yeah. um,
Or a
but
BCBA who's gonna be inspired to go to back
yes,
to theater
yes, they're
school to
finally
get
going to
these
start
skills.
auditioning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Being fully present and being a good listener, being able to shut up and just and listen to the said and the unsaid. I'd say, yeah,
Like the
Mm.
constructive feedback part.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh huh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
So
receiving feedback, that's a
yeah.
huge part of being an actor, you know?
Yeah.
You're not there's you know, there's directors, there's whole teams, like, who, they're stakeholders in every field. So, being able to listen to, like, your director and, take their notes, or to
Mhm.
collaborate, to create something together, collaboration skills, for sure. Lots of transferable skills, I think.
Yeah. Being able
Yeah.
neutral during behaviors.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, to
that's
be
true.
a little unshakable, not
Yes.
sometimes.
Poker face going on. You don't know
That's
what's
a
going on.
strength of mine for sure,
Yes.
and I'm probably from that, yeah.
Yes.
I probably should think about this more and, like, write it down, this'll be eye-opening for sure, this conversation.
Yeah. Well, I'm just wondering, like, were you taught? Because I feel like BCBAs are not often taught all this stuff in school. Like, we're not
Mm-mm.
necessarily you're told to be neutral, but nobody tells you how to be neutral, or we're told we need to listen, but nobody teaches you how to listen. Are you actually taught those skills in your theater, like in your theater program? Were you taught like this is what you want to do when you're listening to your acting partner, for instance?
Yeah, there's a saying in acting called acting is reacting.
Okay, I
So
think
it's
I've
not
heard that in
about
Friends.
is what?
I think Joey has said that in Friends at
Oh,
some
yeah,
point.
it's like this is
Yeah.
like I feel like I'm the cheesiest person alive right now. It Yeah, but it's true, acting is reacting. Being an effective behavior analyst is reacting or not reacting, you know, I think I think just being an actor teaches you how to, like, operate on a human level, it teaches you about all different kinds of people, all different kinds of feelings, the way
Mm,
different people deal with different feelings,
wow.
how you're gonna be the most effective communicator with that person, and that goes for, adults, kids, people who are autistic. Yeah.
No, that's all great insight. And it's like, you know, it's so true. I remember, so we used to have a theater class in my middle school or high school. Her name was Mrs. Cicchetti. And one of the tasks that she had us, like we had to practice was putting your hands like this, and then you have to down and be able to lift them all up by one. So it's like being able to be in control of that motion. And I was, oh my gosh, it was so,
Uh-huh.
but it's so cool to kind of carry over these traits that you've picked up from your background, but also implement it in your reality in the field that we're in. That's so important. Awesome.
But I love it. I feel like I just learned so much about you too, Demi, and like your background. Because it's not like like when we would see each other, it's not like we would
We're not talking
get
about
to
that,
talk
yeah.
about these type of things. We're talking about
Yeah.
clients or maybe like our lives currently. We're not really like, so when I was
Mm.
18, here's what I learned.
It's
So it's really cool. It's really interesting. And I'm like, I think everybody, all BCBAs should maybe invest in some type of
take an acting class?
like, yeah, like I think that would be a really great team building activity, like improv classes, acting classes, having like
Yeah,
somebody
for
come.
sure.
Like, I think things like that are probably really good team building activities for companies
Yeah.
that help naturally build those skills in a more fun way.
I'm gonna tell my clinical director about that.
Love it. Love it. I'm going to join you.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not part of I don't need to be building the team, but I just like the people you work with. So yeah, I would love to switch gears a little bit because I know that you coming into the field, obviously when you first start in the field, you don't necessarily know about dual relationships or our ethics code or anything like that because you started with in a nanny position where you don't have an ethics code. And I know that this is definitely something that has to do with boundaries and something that you've come across. And, do you feel like that's something that has been difficult for you? And do you have advice for people who might be listening who might be treading on dual relationships?
Yeah, it was difficult, and I'm glad it happened. But yeah, it was difficult. I feel like it can become difficult in many different ways for people if they're involved, in a relationship with a with a like in a as like a client therapist relationship, and then also something else, like whether that's also your friend or,
Mhm.
your employer or your, whatever, your employer in a different capacity, whatever, family member. It was difficult for me in my particular situation because I found myself kind of in the middle a lot.
Mm.
The relationship like, the relationships I have now with the families I work with are they're warm and we have rapport and trust and things like that, but they're professional,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and they start that way,
Right.
and I've learned, about that. Not like I'm, like, not sharing my phone number or, like, being, like, super, like, closed off. Um, I felt with this in this situation, I felt like I owed everybody more than, like a typical RBT would.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember John Bailey at I think it was FABA. His whole talk had a lot to do with dual relationships, and he was explaining, listen, a dual relationship is when you have a personal relationship and also a professional relationship. So, for example, if someone is getting married, the RBT is getting married, and then you invite the family to your wedding, that is a dual relationship, or vice versa. If a family had a dog and they had puppies, and then you want to buy one of the puppies, that is a dual relationship. If you decide to go get drinks with your staff after work and you guys are riding, like that is a dual relationship. So he was just explaining because obviously it's kind of tricky, right? There's like
Yeah.
really like what is your definition of personal? Like, okay, if you're doing stuff outside of work, then that's a personal relationship. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard. I feel like sorry, I feel like too, it's very common and it's harder to navigate this when you are working in the home setting because we
Yes.
do spend so much time. Like, I found myself, like you said, stuck in the middle. You know what I mean? It's like, but I always knew like this is a professional relationship and not business, right? Like I was on the family calendar and all this and all that, but like I was not inviting them to my children's. Well, I didn't have kids at the time, but like you know what I mean? It's just like respecting my place of like, hey, I'm clocking in, clocking out, that type of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I was not doing that. It was like, again, like, this could have turned into a very negative situation probably, and I'm sure it does often with these things. For me, it got me into the field, and I had support that I wouldn't have had. I had, like, built-in, you know, clients when they weren't even my clients, like,
Mhm.
I got
Built-in learning
I learned, yeah,
opportunities.
I
Yeah.
learned a lot, like, unofficially, in the process. But yeah, it was more boundaries for myself that I had to set to keep myself sane. Because 'cause I'd say, I said I haven't burnt out as a BCBA, but
Right.
I did feel burnt out as a nanny,
Yeah.
and that wasn't on anybody but me. I was super dedicated, of course, but you can't be both. You can't be both and be good at being both, I found. So that situation, I had to end one of the relationships, and I did, and it all worked out in the end. But yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it depends on the people in the situation too, because I have just seen so many things over the years, and I feel like I've worked with parents where I'm like, I'm not gonna respond to their emails past a certain time. There's a hard line, or I've worked with colleagues that I feel that strongly about, and then I've worked with colleagues that or like, when I was a clinical director, I would have staff members, like I remember I had a staff member once who had a work injury and I went with her to the hospital, and then I think I helped her call her mom and, like, was really and I kinda felt like it was, like, my duty as her supervisor, but I feel like some people could construe that also as a dual relationship because now I'm like, texting her and checking on her and, like, but it's like I'm a human, and they're a human, and I wanna make sure they're okay, and I've had other situations come up where I feel like that's come into play, but I really personally have to look at the people, the players involved and say like, do I think that this is going to end well or do I
Yep.
think that this is a person who maybe is going to take advantage of me having flexible boundaries or that I'm going to get burnt out of having flexible boundaries or I'm going to take advantage of that? Do I see that this is going to cause a problem and ultimately lead to harm? And I feel like I have to like really think that through and I think you know, you've been with people who it
Yeah.
has been a positive experience.
You can give people an inch and they'll take a
Yeah.
mile. Of course, but that pops up everywhere. And that's not out of malice, of course it's
Yeah.
people feel supported by you and they want to feel even more
Yeah.
supported by you, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's good. It's, everybody, I feel like it shows that you're you're effective at least. But I will say it's been to have a support system, a professional support system
Mm.
too. Like you said about like not answering emails, like you manage you have your own business, you manage yourself. But I work for a company and the company that I work for, can I plug or is that
Yeah, I think it's
okay? I
fine.
work for pediatric assessment and learning supports in New York City. It's an office of largely of pediatric neuropsychologists, but we've got a behavior supports service division now that is growing too, and we've got all sorts of academic support people and social workers and psychologists and things like that. But the systems that are being put in place, and I'm lucky enough to be one of the first like people to join the team when they started growing. We're creating our own systems for ourselves as far as we can, we don't share our it's up to us if we want to, but we do not have to share our phone numbers with clients or with people we work with. I'm encouraged to, I like protect my peace, I
That's
like to
great.
say. And that is something I was not doing in the beginning and when I first got into this field for sure. I kind of felt like, gosh, like if you're an empathetic person, which we all are, if you're in this, you pretty much have to be.
Yes.
That you see like someone needs your help and it's 10 o'clock at night and you're the only person that like knows what's going on with them and like, or with their family or, the problem their kid's having. And so they call you and, that if that is the norm, that's not sustainable.
Mhm.
So I am happy to work for a company, and I think that people getting into this field should seek out companies that support their employees in that way
Mhm.
and who encourage support for who have like support who incorporate ways to support families so that they're not calling you at 10 o'clock at night.
I was gonna
Yes.
say,
That
like,
part.
Yeah.
piggybacking off of what Nicole said, you know how she said, like, "Oh, I have flexible boundaries." Like, well, let's ABA that, right? Flexible is a intermittent schedule, which we know is kind of hard to break.
Yeah.
So, and then piggybacking off of what you just mentioned, right? I think what kind of creates a solid boundary in the very beginning is when you are onboarding these families. Like, hey, if the clinic is open from 9 to 3, Monday through Friday, the clinic is open 9 to 3. So if you have any concerns, if it's an emergency, call 911, right? But, kind of setting that boundary early on, if you need support or help outside of business hours, like we are not able to get back to you after so and so because, in the field that we are in, we are helping a lot of individuals, but also too, it's like we're also entitled to have a life outside of our work.
Yeah.
So, like you mentioned, I hear this story all the time, like, "Oh my gosh, I'm at the bar on Friday and I have my family call me because the child's running away," or something like that. It's like, well, I'm not sure how I can help you because I got Usher playing in the background and I'm drunk. So I
Yeah.
can't, you know what I mean? So it's like one of the other strategies I mentioned too is like get a free Google Voice phone, right? It's like, oh, have a work dedicated phone number or put a work phone on silent or, even having an automatic reply to your emails. Like after 5 o'clock, it sends them the automatic reply. Oh, a week
Mhm.
after so and so work days.
I know, yeah, one thing that I thought was awesome with this company that I work with now, we communicate via Google Chat,
Mm.
and, when we onboard a new family, especially if they're like, "Can just text me," or, or just, or they're not responding to emails quickly or, things aren't happening the way that we want them to. It's like, a couple of, like, great pics of your session of their adorable, like, little one in the Google Chat. Like, make it a reinforcing space, set up the like, we try to get a learner to come to the table, like, put all the best
Yeah.
shit on the table, you know, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Okay. So, create systems that are, or reinforce the behaviors you want to see
Mhm.
Yes.
in
Yeah, yeah.
everybody. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and create and model, like, "Hey, this is where we communicate, and I'm sharing positive things here, and
Yeah. Like,
reminder, this chat
this is where you're going to
exists."
get the good information, not
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
text.
Yeah, but then Google Chat is great because I use it for a company I work with, and I mute it because 'cause I'm only there 2 days a week, but there's other people there, and there's chats that we have for, like, teams or for the whole team, and, like, I don't wanna read it when I'm not there because, that's not what I'm that's not what I'm assigned to do at that time, and I have to be really careful with how I use my time because if I'm reading all those, I'm gonna wanna respond and provide support, and I need to have that boundary, and you can mute it, and then, like, I go in and I'm like, "Now I'm gonna catch up, and now I'm here, and now I'm gonna read all of them and see what this kid's been up to for the last 3 days."
Yes.
But it is nice because you can it's not your phone, like, it is your phone, but, like, it's not
Mhm.
your messaging app.
And you know what I've seen? It only leads to positive things because, you set these boundaries, you create the systems that work for you, and so in turn will, benefit everybody. And then, parents feel comfortable to share their
Mhm.
boundaries. Like I work with a client right now who um their parent doesn't want me to share anecdotes and things that work and tips like that in the Google chat or even via text or flip or like in a sort of as they happen thing. She wants me to compile them, and when we meet monthly, we talk about it then, and I write it all down, and she has it in one place. Yeah.
Mm.
So that's her boundary, So,
Yeah.
'cause she's got a busy life, and so if you model, good boundary setting, kind, respectful way, then everybody benefits.
Yeah. I know somebody in the chat said that they feel bad not responding to parents. And it's like, I know that's
Look
the field
inward.
we're in.
Look
We're here to
inward.
help people.
Yeah.
Why do you feel bad?
Yeah. But and, like, if you do respond, are you responding to alleviate your to, like is it
Sure.
automatically reinforced because you're
Yeah.
alleviating your own anxiety, or
Yeah. Are
are
you
you doing
yeah,
it
you're
Yeah.
it's not yeah, because if I, I'm an anxious person, I feel like I see a lot of that in people in this field.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is automatic 99.9% of the time automatically reinforcing to be ultimately burn yourself out.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. And like the quick response. And I think that's, I mean, it goes back to the same thing of like when we work with our learners who have maladaptive behaviors is like, right? The quick thing if a kid is having a tantrum in a grocery store because they want a cookie, the way to stop that tantrum is to just give them the cookie.
Yeah.
But that creates a longer term problem. Whereas, like, old school ABA might say, like, oh, you don't give them a cookie at all. I probably would be like, have them ask for the cookie or have them set a timer to wait for the cookie or some
Yeah.
like modified whatever. But I feel like it's the same thing with families that if we are constantly, we're like relieving the problem for the short term to build it up for a long term maladaptive issue that like is creating something that's not sustainable. It feels easy in the moment because you're just like, oh, I'm just going to respond. I do that as a parent too, where I'm like, I'm just going to give you the screen or I'm just going to let you sleep in my bed or whatever because
Yeah.
this is easier. Yeah. Um, but I do
Yeah, and
think that, go ahead.
and I wish I had the knowledge that I mean, even though I was an RBT, like
Yeah.
I still didn't I didn't know. I didn't understand that,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I think that there's some people that those things don't become a problem with, where you're like, you can answer it. Like, I have some parents that if they texted me at 10 o'clock at night, I probably would answer because I know that they're only doing it when it is absolutely necessary. Like they have evaluated the situation and I can trust their judgment and it is appropriate to be reaching out to me
And you can
at that
actually
time.
be helpful and they can
Yes.
discriminate. Yeah.
Yes. Versus like, oh, it's become your coping mechanism. And now this is like a weird dual relationship where you're venting to me at 10 o'clock at night about whatever happened with the RBT and it could have waited till the morning.
See, no, see, for me, I'm gonna disagree. So you should not if I'm supporting a server and you want to talk to me at 10 o'clock to complain about our RBT, that is not business hour. That's not
No, no,
late.
no, I agree with that, but,
Yeah.
like, if a parent reaches out to me about something I have a few families that if they reached out to me at 10 o'clock at night, I would know it was for a good reason and I would answer versus other families that I'm like, "You're just calling to vent to me, this can wait till the morning. I don't need to hear from it. I don't need to hear about it. I'm not your venting space
Yeah,
at
I
all
mean,
hours of the day."
if you judge for yourself that it's gonna be fine, and then then that's a different story, I guess. But
Yeah.
That's that intermittent
Yes.
schedule I was talking about, Nicole.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Well, your family's gonna be like, well, now I can text her because I'm listening to this podcast. So let me see if she could.
They're gonna be like, "Which one am I?" I'm gonna see. All my families are gonna be like, what am I?" I'm gonna
Which family is it?
which type of family am I?
Yeah,
One that responds to her or not? I generally actually most of my parents that I work with are pretty like they might shoot me like I had one parent text me a couple days ago to go back and forth over whether or not we were going to have a session at like kind of late at night. And I responded because I was like, I feel like but also like I work for myself. So I also think it's a different set of boundaries.
Yeah, it's like, well, I want to know what I want this to be resolved also.
Yeah. Like I need to know if I'm having a session or not and like what's going on in your house.
Like everything, it's not black and white. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think in ABA, a lot of people, like I see this all the time in Reddit and the Facebook groups where people are like, nope, you can't do it. That's a dual relationship. You can't do
Yeah.
it. And like,
I
I
roll my
totally
eyes.
agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. I feel like
I think it's very easy to say things like that when you haven't had very many experiences.
mm,
And that's not a dig on anybody online. Well,
yeah.
maybe it is a dig on some like keyboard work online. I feel like I wouldn't look at that as an ethical issue because it's ethical if it's unethical if it's hurting people or has the potential to. And if you are like, I'll talk scheduling with a mom at whatever time if I'm awake and and that doesn't mean anything. It just means that you talked about the schedule. But if I'm answering the phone no matter what all the time and I answer the phone and mom is not saying this has happened, but like that the mom is crying because, there's a tantrum that just won't quit, and I'm like at the bar or whatever, or just simply done working for the day.
Yeah.
That's a different story. And I've done a good job and a not so good job with managing that.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I'm thinking about too, like all these new BCBAs coming in, right? They don't understand. No one in school tells us about, oh, how many clients? Like John Bailey said, okay, 20 billable A clients, right?
Right.
BCBAs are coming in and they're thrown to like 12 different clients. So
Yeah.
imagine having 12 different families texting you all hours throughout the day because they need that type of support. That's going to lead to burnout immediately. So that's why I'm just saying, like early on, like, even if you guys are listening to this and you're interviewing companies, ask them what type of structures and boundaries do you have in place when you guys onboard families so that they respect the time or outside of service hours.
Yep.
Very simple like that.
How do you communicate with families? How do you not communicate with families?
Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, and if you expect me to be working outside of the regular scheduled hours, where am I clocking in and where am I clocking out and what's the rate?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it.
Which, no.
Yeah. Like, I will say that sometimes, not always, for me, if somebody contacts me at like 8 o'clock at night, they're not all of my clients because it depends on how my fee structure is for each individual client. I might be billing them. Like if they're like, hey, can we hop on a call? I might be like, well, I got to bill you for the time. So sure, if I'm available, which I think is also different when I'm not sacrificing I'm choosing like, okay, I'm going to choose to do this and earn income and charge you for it. I'm making a conscious decision to flex that boundary here versus like as a BCBA working for a company, I don't think you always have that choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think it leads to dual relationships that can be hard. I will say for me, what's hard is a lot of my clients, I stopped taking clients at my kids' schools because that started to get weird where like I took a kid who was in a different grade, but then they had a sibling in my other child's grade. And so then that was like, I was like, oh, now, and they were in different classes, but then the next year they were in the same classes. And so now we're in like school functions and it's always worked out. Like, fortunately, the families I work with, I think we would get along no matter what. And like, it's always worked out positively, but it has the potential that if it doesn't work out, I now have this person who maybe our values didn't align and like, who knows, I've certainly seen like unpredictable people, like they're going to take you down with them. And if they're in my community, I don't need that to happen. So I've stopped taking families at my kids' schools and then it gets complicated because I thought that through, but my kids also do sports. So I have to get the families to sign waivers so that our kids are not on the same, that I can communicate to whatever sports department it is, that our kids will not be placed on the same team because my own children also, this is where I think a dual relationship can become a problem. My own children are also neurodivergent and can also annoy other children or do things that can be issues. And like, it's going to become a problem if a client, let's say, is having an issue with my child and now I can't help them with their social skills because my child is wrapped up in that.
Mm-hmm. There's that professional and then personal, right? Your kids bring the personal side. That
yeah,
Christina, like you said, like they're not teaching this. Like
No.
this is like school of life type stuff. So, I feel like most of it is. Most of it is. Like, what's the class called? I guess, ethics is. I feel like ethics classes are great, but I feel like the issues aren't actually about the code itself. It's about like avoidance, like avoiding a hard conversation.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like that was a huge. That's what I didn't do. I did not have a hard conversation. I did not leave that the nanny relationship when I should have. Because I was uncomfortable. And it created issues, it really did. For me, mostly.
Yeah.
Luckily the kids were okay, but
Yeah.
I think an emphasis on, I know well, in my ethics class, and I know, Nicole, you're familiar with that.
Yes. I want to teach it. I haven't taught it yet. I really would like to get my teeth into that one.
So I was going to bring up your practicum course because you utilize lots of role play.
Yes.
And that is the most helpful thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And so that's what my ethics class, of all the classes, like didn't actually have that at all. So you'd think, I think more real life application generalizable, make those skills generalizable.
I think I'm going to see if I could teach ethics next spring.
Semester 1, let's make it then.
Yeah, because I love the role play. I guess I took acting classes as a kid.
Yeah.
And I do love the role play. And I've now done the same scenario so many times. I'm always like, okay, I'm this parent and you're going to get into their shoes. And I think it's like a good activity for me too, because it like reminds me of what the parent, like I listen to it as if I am that parent. And how, because basically, so Christina, we do these like giving ABA away where you have like, let's say you have a 2-year-old and you want the parents to work on toilet training, but the parents think the kid's not ready and the kid's ready. And you have to help get the parent on board with toilet training. And I feel like I've now done the same scenarios so many times that I can see like the people who kind of get rigid and stuck in it are like the people who show up with a huge power. So like if you're in my practicum class, when they show up with a huge PowerPoint and don't give me a word in for the first 10 minutes, I start to become defensive where like my natural reaction is like to start to become defensive. Like, why are you guys trying to sell me on toilet training my kids so much? Why, like what's in it for you guys? Like, because they're just trying so hard or something like that. And I don't know. I think it's like I have so much fun with it. So it's nice to hear your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, and we do, and I as part of the model that we follow at this company I work for now, we meet everybody, whether you're a BCBA or anybody in the company meets together every single week in person for an hour and a half. We cover a lot of different topics, but it's like big group supervision for our Bs and for the BCBAs getting their fieldwork hours. But it's opportunities to we had a whole afternoon where we did role play, talked about different ethical situations. This one was specifically about the ethics of artificial intelligence, but it could be about anything. And so that's the most helpful thing, even it's why we have like assessments for RBTs, like every cycle, you have to see competency, like you got to do it.
Yeah.
Anybody can pass not anybody, it's a hard test, but like,
passing a test doesn't mean anything on your BCBA skills. Yeah.
We all know that. I for sure know that because I passed that test and I was like, now I've still never run a meeting myself,
But I have to say that you were like, I don't know, I guess I'm a BCBA. And I was like, of course you're a BCBA. Like, you were one of the people that I was like, you've been a BCBA mentally for years.
Yes.
Like, you've been ready for this for years.
Yeah. I had little built-in practice, before I even knew what the universe knew what I was doing before I knew what I was doing. But, but yeah.
Yeah. So we probably should wrap up because I love this. This is so wonderful. But I think you probably already said it. Do you have a hot take you want to end us with? And then we'll do a positive thing before we end. Like
on
maybe
anything?
an unpopular on any. I mean, it could be on anything, but anything we've covered. I feel like you said something like 10 minutes ago, and I was like, "That's Demi's hot take," and my like mush of a brain is not holding it in anymore. But I think it was about the ethics. What you just said about ethics.
Yeah.
I don't know, but pick something else if that's not it.
Ethics, yeah. No, I do think that I think it's an avoidance behavior for us, for most people. I mean, no one likes to have hard conversations, but it's a skill. And you want to, there's lots of books about it, and I've read many of them. I was a little, I had enough, been burned enough times. But outside of ethics, I'd say like just keeping on our theme of like career pivots and things like that. I feel like this field, whoever's listening, somebody who isn't in this field but maybe would be great. I think it's underestimated like how much this field needs more diverse people from more diverse backgrounds.
Yeah.
In every capacity, but like diverse needs like career changers or career pivoters.
Yes.
Like we said, like some of the best clinicians didn't start psychology or just whatever.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And you can, and if you think you can't, you can. Like I went to acting school and then didn't do anything really for 16 years. And then, and now I have published research. So like, you just need the right people on your side. So
yes.
It's been an incredible journey and it's so early on. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love it. I want to have you back to talk about your research. And we didn't even talk about precision teaching. So
yes, we'll have to talk about that.
Yes, we're going to have you come back to talk about precision teaching. Yeah. And our last question for you, real last question, your best moment in ABA.
My best moment?
Yeah. Or a top moment. How's that?
I'll just give you a recent one.
Okay.
I feel like, hopefully there's like a moment with every client, child, what is usually, for me, it's children, every child you work with where like things click, like you, we're, I'm always trying to get in there. Like, I'm like, if I were in that brain, like, let me in there, I want to like share a brain with you. I want it to think like you, and with some kids, it's really tough, with when the communication, with the communication barriers. So I have a client who I work with now who it really took, since it's been 6 months now, and it's taken 6 months to connect with him, I'd say, for me, just a tough nut to crack for, the reasons you can probably assume, but he was, I guess, like guarded or whatever it was. And the other day, or a couple weeks ago, we were doing like expanding utterance or something like that. And I was looking at, like the what's wrong pictures or like silly pictures, like, like a bike, pizza for wheels. And it's like, what's silly about this? And you want to hear, that full sentence, why? And he was like, the wheels are made of pizza. And he looked at me and he poked me on the shoulder and started laughing. And I started cracking up.
Aww.
And it was like, oh, we have a joke. We have like an inside joke, and and it really opened up, it's slow moving, but it opened something up. And I feel like you have those moments with all your clients. I hope people do. And that's the best part. That's the best part.
I think the takeaway from that is like not to give up, right?
Yeah.
Just months to get like that rapport and like that little crack with your friend, right? It's like, and that's the shaping process in the space and why ABA is like intensive. It's longer duration, right? So like rapport building is so monumental, but it's like, don't give up on the learners that you are supporting.
Yeah. Your strongest collaborator is them. So
I feel like we got to end it on that. That's so true. That's so true. Thank you so much, Demi. Yeah. I feel like I learned so much. I've always learned so much from you, and I'm just grateful to have another opportunity to have a conversation with you and see you. And so thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
For all our listeners, like, subscribe, share our podcast. If you know somebody who is maybe thinking about a career in ABA, but they're not sure they can change their career, Demi is the perfect person to listen to and share her experience so that maybe you can convince some more people to become amazing BCBAs just like Demi. And that's it. We will see everyone next time.